This message comes from Raymond James, a firm focused on transforming lives, businesses, and communities through tailored wealth management, banking, and capital markets solutions. Disclosures at raymondjames.com.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. Okay, everybody, this week, you and I are connecting the dots between Rotten Tomatoes, Kiefer Sutherland, and the Middle East. I know. How are all of these things connected? Well, we're going to find out with the co-host of NPR's Code Switch, B.A. Parker, and Dr. Maytha Alhassan, a professor who's also written and produced for Hulu's hit series, Rami. Parker, Maytha, welcome to It's Been a Minute.
Hello.
Hey.
All right. Okay, so here's a question for y'all. Which one of you thinks that you have what it takes to make an Oscar-winning film?
Oh, sure.
Listen, I decided when I was watching the Oscars that my lane is going to be short animated film.
I love that.
I have a master's in screenwriting.
Listen, I have an undergraduate degree in film. Do you see me?
Why don't we make it a movie right now?
Well, that kind of independent filmmaker empowerment was on full display at last weekend's Academy Awards. Many of the top prizes went to indie films, from the Best Picture winner, Anora, to the first ever independent film to win Best Animated Feature, Flow. And finally, the subject of today's show, the winner for Best Documentary Feature.
And the Oscar goes to
the self-produced documentary,
No Other Land.
Really quick, No Other Land is a documentary about Palestinian activist Bassel Adra and his community of Masafer Yatta in the West Bank.
Thank you to the Academy for the award.
And in the film, Masafer Yatta is being demolished by Israeli forces to make way for a military training ground, driving many Palestinians out of their homes and villages.
About 2 months ago, I became a father, and my hope to my daughter that she will not have to live the same life I'm living now.
So Bassel decides to document the expulsion on the ground, hoping to share it with the world and bring an end to the violence that his community is facing every day. And also, I'll say, there's a really good chance that you listening, have not seen this movie. That's because barely any American theaters are screening it, which is a little wild because ever since it debuted at the Berlin Film Festival last year in 2024, it's been getting universal acclaim. I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes right now, and it has a 100% rating. So what is it about a universally acclaimed movie that U.S. film distributors don't want to touch? Is this a kind of soft censorship? Is there a history to this sort of thing happening in Hollywood before? And if documentary film is supposed to speak truth to power, what happens when power doesn't want to hear it? So, Parker and Maytha, let's start with the facts. The fact being that this film has not received wide distribution rights in America. Why do you think that is? Is there something controversial about the subject of the film, or is something else going on here?
It's so difficult to get distribution because of the subject matter, which, I haven't heard of this kind of soft censorship since the Nixon era. When there were documentaries like Hearts and Minds, which won the Oscar in 1975, which was a critique on the Vietnam War, and that also had distribution issues because it sympathized with the Viet Cong.
Right.
Documentaries can be dangerous, and especially if they are exposing prevailing systems that are still happening. So we take, for example, Blackfish. SeaWorld tanked after Blackfish.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Being able to tell a full story from this village where this community in Masafer Yatta is resisting the demolition by building their homes every night after it's been demolished. And that's interpreted as a threat.
One of the notes that I wrote down when I was watching the film is that very frequently when homes are being bulldozed, when people are being rounded up, children are watching this. And that is not always the perspective that people are seeing perhaps when they turn on a news broadcast. Seeing someone's lived experience through their eyes, from their perspective, is something that not really all news really can do. That's kind of the opposite of what news is. Documentary is very different. I could see how there might be some people who might take issue with that.
The fact that we get to see that kind of resilience, in the US, as we're talking about this is where we are. Mm-hmm. Our tax dollars are underwriting this kind of violence. So making those connections is dangerous because we can demand that they stop.
Parker, I guess there are a couple reasons why this film might not be getting wider distribution or picked up by a streaming service, for example. One could be an economic reason. I read a quote from one distribution executive saying it's, quote, solely an economic decision and that streamers don't want documentary content.
Who's
this exec?
Unnamed. What I'm trying to understand here is it the money that distributors are worried about, or is it the subject of the film itself? Are they worried it's too unsellable or too political, or what?
They can argue the money point because we do have a disintegrating film industry, streaming industry. However, Netflix unloaded 24 Palestinian films not too long ago from their collection.
Yes, that's right. Back in October 2024. And Netflix says that was because their 3-year licensing agreement for these films expired. But you're absolutely right. That could definitely raise some eyebrows.
Yeah. So it would lead people to be skeptical about that argument when it comes to a film that has a Palestinian. This is the first Oscar to go to a Palestinian filmmaker. That's also really important to note. So I am shocked that it's won an Oscar. I am not shocked it doesn't have distribution or that soft censorship might be the part of the play on this.
Okay, so we've been talking about why people wouldn't want to distribute the film, but I want to talk just a little bit about why they would. And there's a long history of films that No Other Land is actually like. It's a co-production between 2 Palestinian and 2 Israeli filmmakers. And that's one way, in the past, Palestinian storytellers have been able to get their work out in the world, to have Israelis be a part of the project.
Yeah.
And one moment that really highlights why this has perhaps been the case for so long is that when No Other Land screened in Berlin at the Berlin Film Festival last year, 2024, the German Minister of State for Culture was seen clapping for the film during a standing ovation. And there was backlash to her clapping. And then her response to that was to put out a statement saying that she was only applauding the Israeli filmmaker.
That's not how that works.
That is famously not how applause works. She said that she was only applauding the Israelis, not the Palestinians, even though they all made the film together. And this apparent need for Israel's cosign on Palestinian projects was really on full display at the Oscars last week when one of the Israeli co-directors, Yuval Abraham, gave his acceptance speech immediately after the Palestinian director.
We made this film, Palestinians and Israelis, because together our voices are stronger.
When you're watching a film with a predominantly black cast, and then one white guy, like white savior, comes in and is like, I'm here to help, I'm here to learn, I'm here to listen. And it kind of like takes up a little bit of the air. But that cosign is essentially what the institution needs. Slowly but surely, the more Palestinian art was being submitted to the Oscars, you would notice that it was being like co-directed by an Israeli director in order to give it legitimacy, which feels icky, but is also just inherently a part of Western art.
I want to step back and think about the evolving representation of Palestinians and or Arabs on screen in the United States. Following 9/11, one of the biggest TV shows of the time, 24, with Kiefer Sutherland, was about fighting Middle Eastern terrorists. And, fast forward 2025, No Other Land, it's won Best Documentary at the Academy Awards. I wonder, how has content about Arabs, Palestinians, and or Muslims evolved in the past couple of decades? What shows or TV shows are people actually gravitating toward right now?
Yeah, I think an important point, I did this report called Huck in Hollywood, which is 100 years of representing Muslims on TV and film in Hollywood in general, is that moment after September 11th is actually a part of a long entrenched history of embedding in our psyches this notion of the Palestinian, the Arab as the terrorist. Like really popular thrillers like Executive Decision, True Lies. I mean, there were 3 Delta Forces. I don't know why.
I couldn't even tell you what one Delta Force is. How about that?
Me either.
Yeah, Chuck Norris on a hijacked plane. Of course, we know who the hijackers are. It's I mean, like the most classic cartoonish stereotypes you could imagine. And then what made it more surprising was there was this emergence of prestige terror films, as we had the Hurt Locker, the Oscars and the Emmys awarded these type of shows. This genre is not popular anymore. What they are interested in, there's incredible reviews for Mo on Netflix.
I love this.
Mo was on our show as a friend of Rami's. And I mean, I don't know how we did it to this day, but Rami and I co-wrote an episode where we do go to Palestine.
I remember.
The stories we have now are really shifting because the people who've experienced those things are part of writing the narrative and doing so in an artful way. Documentaries are powerful, and so are narrative fiction. And you see the hunger for it.
I mean, that's so real, because I think about, was it the first Palestinian film nominated for an Oscar is Paradise Now?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, congratulations, but also the story is about 2 Palestinian suicide bombers in Tel Aviv. And now 19 years later, now we get this documentary that is well-rounded in the experience of being Palestinian in a way that honestly would not have been considered or allowed 19 years ago, which isn't even that long ago.
It's not that long ago. It's within my adult memory.
Yeah.
Well, Parker, Maytha, I have learned so much here. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as a thank you, I'd like to teach you something by playing a game with you all. Can you stick around for a tiny bit longer?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back with a little game I like to call, But Did You Know? Stick around.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Sattva. Founder and CEO Ron Rudson shares why Sattva sales associates are focused on finding the perfect mattress for their customers.
At Sattva, we have a 365-day home trial. Why would we want to rush you or try to push you into something that's not right for you? We want to make sure that we guide you to the right mattress. Our team is always available to be helpful, to make sure you make the right choice.
To learn more, go to SAATVA.com/NPR.
This message comes from Charles Schwab. When it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices, like full-service wealth management and advice when you need it. You can also invest on your own and trade on Thinkorswim. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Raymond James, a financial firm as unique as the people it serves. Raymond James financial advisors consider the unique lives and goals of each client to create full-picture plans that go beyond retirement savings and managing risk. They provide tailored solutions for complex needs through wealth management, banking, and capital markets services. Disclosures at raymondjames.com. Raymond James & Associates, Inc., member New York Stock Exchange /SIPC.
This message comes from Bombas. Their slippers are designed with cushioning, so every step feels marshmallowy soft. Plus, for every item purchased, Bombas donates to someone in need. Go to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off your first order.
All right. We are going to play a little game I like to call, What Did You Know? Here's how it works. I'm going to share a story that's been making headlines this week. And as I give you some background on the story, I'll also ask you trivia related to it. But don't worry, it's all multiple choice. And the first one to blurt out the right answer gets a point. Person with the most points wins. And their prize is bragging rights. Are y'all ready?
I think so.
Okay. Okay.
This week's headline is a simple one. Lady Gaga, Mother Monster, is out with a new album. It's called Mayhem. Now, normally I would do trivia about the album or something like that. But because I have the mic, I'm going to test both of you on my favorite Gaga history.
Oh, no.
So first up, which of these Lady Gaga deep cuts is her best song, according to me? Is it A, Free Woman from Chromatica, B, So Happy I Could Die from the Fame Monster, or C, Heavy Metal Lover from Born This Way?
See?
B, I've heard of none of these songs.
All right. Well, Parker, I'm going to tell you what, girl. The answer is B, So Happy I Could Die. You got it. I love that song. And fun fact, while the song did not chart in the United States as a single, except maybe on my iPod, it did chart in Hungary, Sweden, and the UK. So maybe I should move someplace else where they have better taste in music. Okay, next question. Sure, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, they really gagged all of us with their extremely memeable press tour last year for the first Wicked movie. But honestly, it was Lady Gaga who paved the way for them. Which of these very real quotes from Lady Gaga interviews is my favorite? Is it A, the one of a bajillion times when she said,
"There can be 100 people in the room and 99 don't believe in you.
And you just need one"? B, the time in 2015 when she described director Ryan Murphy as talented, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular.
Unafraid to reference or not reference, put it in a blender, vomit on it, eat it, give birth to it.
Wait, that was about Ryan Murphy?
Or is it C, the time where Lady Gaga was asked if she could be anyone for a day, and who would it be? And she responded,
I'd like to be the moon.
I go A.
I mean, C?
Parker, you were actually correct. The answer is A. 100 people.
Oh, my goodness.
But you need one.
Can I tell you my favorite? Mine is Bus.
Club.
Bus, another bus. Club.
Another club, plane, next place, no sleep, no fear.
I love that one. I say that sometimes to myself when I have like more than 2 meetings in the same hour. And I'm just like, oh, bus, club.
I got 2 more tracking sessions today and an interview. That's what I've been saying already today.
Without further ado, the final question. We all know that Miss Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta, a.k.a. Lady Gaga, beautiful, a long name, truly revived and redefined the medium of the music video. But according to me, which one of these videos is her absolute best? Is it A, her latest video for Abracadabra from 2025, B, the whole Star is Born movie, because it's kind of, in its own way, a music video, just a really long one, or C, Alejandro from 2011?
B. I'm going to go B.
I'll also go B.
Unfortunately, you're both wrong. The answer is C, Alejandro.
Alejandro.
Oh for 3. Wow.
For those who don't know, Alejandro was choreographed by Miss Boom Cat Cack herself, the one, the only, the fabulous choreographer Lorianne Gibson. And I just have to shout out Lorianne's work. So Alejandro is the answer for me.
I'll just have to say, this game is rigged if there's no questions about House of Gucci. Like, that's...
All right. Well, that is it for But Did You Know? For this week, congratulations to Parker on your win. And congratulations to Lady Gaga on her new album. And all her little monsters on having the funnest time listening all weekend long. And Parker, Maytha, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was NPR's B.A. Parker. She's the co-host of NPR's Code Switch. And Dr. Maytha El-Hassan. She's a professor and also a writer and producer for Hulu's hit series Rami. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Corey Bridges,
Barton Girdwood.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. Indeed's Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed and get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/NPR. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. AI needs lots of speed and computing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling? Upgrade to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast and secure platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI workloads. Now, till the end of March 31st, 2025, new U.S. customers with a minimum financial commitment can cut their current cloud bill in half. See if your company qualifies at oracle.com/NPR.